In this podcast, as I have mentioned in my previous podcast, that I would start sharing my life when I first came to America. Take note, this happens 2 decades ago, and if you are patient enough, we will get there of how I am doing today. Let's roll back how it all begun. And so this is chapter 1. Meeting with Jack. So before we get into it, I would like to remind you that if you have been here in my channel before, please continue to support by liking and sharing. And if this is your first time, please do not forget to subscribe and click the bell so that you can get my podcast notification uploads. Thank you. I met Jack in the Philippines in 1998. We only had 1 week with each other. He was just there to meet me in person. He was so charming, very outgoing, cheerful, and was fun of my family. After a short stay, he went back to the US. And we continued communicating the old ways, snail mail and long-distance telephone. I received around 2 letters each week from him. And we talked very often on the phone, at least every day. We developed intense feelings for each other. Months of being away from him became so hard for us. So he decided to petition me and started processing this K-1 fiancé visa. When our K-1 application got approved, I flew to the US right away in 1999. Once I was living with him in his country, I was having a difficult time adjusting to life in America. I had nobody but Jack. Jack superimposed himself as a Christian. He always went to church 4 times a week. He had this smile that said he was the best guy in the world. I was pretty much convinced that he was my guy. Jack always went to work 4 times a week. At first, he warned me not to call anyone else but him. Signs of him being a control freak started to show early on. But it didn't ring a bell right away. He wanted me to go to church all the time, while he is gone to work, of which I did. I remember my very first week living in America. He took me to a Filipina neighbor who lived close by us. I was so happy to finally meet someone from my country. Jack was so friendly, his smile was from ear to ear. My new friends think of him as super cool. But then when we returned home later that night, his mannerism changed and he seems to be a different person when we are alone. And he warned me once again not to be so close with our Filipino neighbors. Mind you, this was the second time that he warned me. Remember the first? Not to call anyone on the phone but him. And now secondly, not to be so close with my Filipino friend. It was all a sign that was very controlling was already showing early on. I ignored him thinking to myself, maybe he just doesn't trust people. A month after being here in America, I got bored. I had asked Jack nicely if I could get a local job, since I am so lonely. And also I could help him pay bills. He said,
"No. You just need to stay here. I will take care of you."
Take care of me? I said to myself once again. He can't even buy me any personal toiletries. You know, what women need. I couldn't buy that stuff myself because I didn't have a job. And I was afraid to ask him. One day, I contacted my Filipina neighbor. And I asked her a favor to send me a lady's napkin because I had none. I explained to her that Jack wouldn't provide them for me. Although, it was terribly difficult to ask someone who you'd just met. But I needed it badly. One night, Jack came home from work and found the pad hidden underneath the sink closet and yelled at me that night. My terror began that night. Please watch out for the next episode. Jack went completely berserk on me and calls me name. And told me that I should go back to my country. Thank you for listening to Aurora's podcast. And see you then. Bye-bye.